Hi, it's Richard Lyle. Thank you again for being here today. One of the last lines I heard from one of the presentations is the housing crisis is a choice. And that was from Louis Morante from California. And it is a choice. And we can fix it. On behalf of the Residential Construction Council of Ontario, I'd like to thank you again for joining today's Housing Summit. I mentioned in my opening remarks that we need additional bold and decisive action, and it is no small task to deal with. The great thing about this session that it showed is that we are aligned, both at a political level, at an industry level, and with various stakeholders. The lack of housing is a threat to our economic recovery, to health and wellness, jobs and investment. The OECD, for example, noted that we're 34th out of 35 countries in dealing with approvals. The World Bank had us pegged at 64th out of 190 countries. The growing demand for housing shows no signs of abating. Home prices and rents are moving beyond what most families can afford. Many have given up on the prospect of ever owning a home or even finding suitable rental units. This supply deficit puts further pressure on the demand for supportive and social housing as well. Decent housing should be within the means and reach of all Ontarians. We urgently need further measures to put in place to cut red tape, accelerate the construction of new homes, and make them affordable. Specifically, we need to speed up the development review process so builders can get moving more quickly on projects. Multiple reports, including those by RESCON, shows it takes far too long to get this done. Our population is growing, and immigration is expected to be well over 400,000 for the next several years, not including quite possibly more refugees to come very soon. Yet a recent report by Scotiabank indicated that our population-adjusted housing stock is the lowest of any G7 country. Another demonstrated the wrong demographics were relied on within the growth planning process, and the growth plan really didn't account for providing the appropriate changes to allow for higher densities. Another 650,000 homes would be needed to get built in Ontario to get us to the same average level of housing per capita in other provinces. To catch up with the G7 average, an additional 1.2 million homes would have to be built in Ontario. The shortage erodes our talent pool. Recent reports on brain drain from Canada and to other parts of Canada. And it's scaring away skilled people too as well. And there are measured health and wellness and education issues related to the consequences of inadequate housing. In Toronto, the cost of the average dwelling relative to income is now by far the worst amongst G7 countries. And those who can least afford it are the ones paying the biggest price in this. The Toronto Region Board of Trade and Wood Green Community Services indicated in a report that the lack of affordable housing is costing the GTA up to nearly $8 billion a year, or almost $38 billion over a 5-year period. There are other similar reports which show the costs of substandard systemic barriers to housing and the effects on the quality of life are huge. Today, our thoughtful speakers and panelists helped us better understand what caused the current crisis. They provided insights into what's being done about the problem, what's been done in other jurisdictions, how we can increase supply, and how we can overcome things like the labor supply challenges we face. It was great to hear perspectives from other jurisdictions. Catherine Stone from the Western Cape, South Africa, Annette Sheeb Lorenzi of the city of Stockholm in Sweden, Louis Morante again from California, for example, just to name a few. Jason Mercer, chief analyst from Toronto Real Estate Board, provided an excellent overview of the GTA housing market outlook for 2022. I appreciated deeply the presentations from Barry Mayor Jeff Flaman, Provincial Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Steve Clark, and Federal Housing Diversity Inclusion Minister Ahmed Hussein, as well as from the NDP's Andrew Horvath, Stephen Del Duca of the Liberal Party, and Mike Schreiner of the Green Party. These are the leaders who will shape our housing policies going forward. And it would appear they're aligned on this issue by and large. And there's no doubt that we have a supply crisis. That was something that took some time to get over, by the way. Clark has shown incredible intestinal fortitude in driving change as the minister. Mayor Lehman, on behalf of the big city mayors, really demonstrated in-depth and very sensitive awareness to the problem, and also demonstrated that they're taking specific action. Minister Hussein genuinely deeply cares. Deputy Mayor Bailao of the City of Toronto spoke of deep affordability and the importance of dealing with that, and also the need to have industry and government working together to fix this. One can't do it alone. And of course, the wonderful C2K program at the City of Toronto is quite inspiring. And Stephen Del Duca spoke of it as an existential crisis. It's very true. With aligned leaders like this, anything is possible. The Pekka Kucha session with Mary Ellen Bench of Denton's and Chris Hornberg of Toronto C2K and Paul Smeton of Kent Say provided us with some terrific insights and thoughts on trends and specific actions. And of course, we had people like Paige Agnew and Arash Shahi, who we have worked with through our partnership with U of T and One Ontario, had very informative presentations on innovative approaches and also labor supply shortages. And I can't forget my friend Leith Moore, who is embarked on a very exciting new venture in mass timber, carbon capture, dealing with, addressing climate change measures too as well. Very important is the mix of innovation in building processes, modular housing, panelized housing. That is going to grow tremendously, in my view, providing we can lay out the pathways and make them more transparent and accountable. Labor, yes, we've been involved in reforms and training and apprenticeship for many years because we've had this problem for quite some time. And we're making great headway with the Ministry of Labor, Minister McNaughton. We've been reaching out to BIPOC communities, promoting skilled trades there. And of course, the underrepresentation of women in construction has to end. The immigration is another key issue for us right now. Royal Bank issued a report showing that only about a third of the immigrants that should have skilled trades and building trades experience actually have that experience, and so that needs to be balanced out. We've known for years that this moment was coming. COVID didn't help. We had the COVID effect on housing. We never stopped building, and we're positioned now to attack this supply challenge. The market has changed. Many more people are working from home and will continue to work from home, so that will have its own challenges. But we still have the fact that we've got 2.7 million people coming here over the next decade, and we've got to deal with climate change on top of that. But I think we can do that. So the question is, where do we go from here? There's no doubt, as I mentioned, a collaborative and coordinated approach by government, industry, and other stakeholders is necessary. And I think this day shows that that is entirely within reach. Other jurisdictions have already met and addressed many of these challenges, so we don't have to remake any wheels in this process. Whether it's on things like e-permitting or zoning, fixing zoning problems and things like that. Other jurisdictions have tackled these already. We can learn from them and are learning from them. Many were considered by the Ontario Housing Affordability Task Force report and its sweeping reforms and the ambitious blueprint for 1.5 million homes. I'd like to say go big or go home. It's ambitious, but we've got to do it. That's the target. And the target is, this is where we have to set those targets and we have to meet them. We got to measure our performance. We need KPIs. So to speed up the construction of the much needed new housing, the task force suggests that limits be placed on the amount of time spent consulting with the public on housing developments and legislating timelines for development approvals. Wasted time and NIMBYism, as is often the case, raises costs to consumers with no apparent benefit. If a municipality misses an approval deadline, a project should get an automatic green light, and the municipality would have its provincial funding reduced. That's one of the proposals. I'm not sure if I'd want to go that far, but the fact is a lot of these services are monopoly services providers, and there should be performance standards because they're being paid for it, right? Amongst other things. I mean, they have a regulatory role to play, but still. So it's an ambitious goal. About 92,000 new housing units were started in 2021, 79,000 in 2020. So that's a big increase. It's notable. But, we need to do much more and ramp up significantly. And of course, one obvious method, as I mentioned, is offsite construction. The task force reforms are the type of thinking that we need. Though daunting, given the proper tools, our industry is up to the challenge. RESCON and other stakeholders have led the charge on this, and we need a data exchange standard that would set the stage for a common, full province-wide e-permitting system. This in turn will increase investment in innovative offsite factories, facilities, things like that, because the certainty and the transparency and accountability, the predictability of it will encourage innovation and will encourage investment in facilities like that. We also know we can build housing faster through these means. New technologies evolving and coming on stream that can accelerate the building of new homes need to be adopted and encouraged. And it's clear, while there's no quick fixes in this or silver bullets, we know what the problems are. And delivering new supply, yeah, it's going to take time, but we can do it. But we got to start now, not 6 months from now, not a year from now, because the clock is ticking. Today was a critical moment to build momentum for change. It is my hope that this summit will spur even more discussion and solutions. And I would like to sincerely thank our 27 or so speakers, politicians, and panelists who participated in the event, as well as moderator John Michael McGrath, who did a wonderful job of keeping everything on track. I would also like to give a shout out to our sponsors, the Toronto Real Estate Board, the Federation of Rental Housing Providers, the Canadian Centre for Economic Analysis, Big Data Analytics, and of course, Actual Media and Stephen Henderson for hosting the event and running it behind the scenes. And I want to thank our members of RESCON, and especially the members on our executive board who have represented us from Menkes, Great Gulf, Starling, Laurier Homes, Tridel. They care deeply about this issue and have for years, and they're providing, and our members are providing resources to spend on research and partnerships and advocacy and so on. Because they know that what's been happening is not sustainable, and it hasn't been for some time, but now we can finally get to fixing it. And I also want to say just one comment to Eric Lombardi on New Neighbors. I am in awe of that grassroots movement. They're producing excellent work and commentary and really providing a voice for those who are often not heard. And those are the new home buyers that aren't in ratepayers groups and people that want to rent housing but aren't in tenants groups. And they need to be heard because they're the ones that are affected the most on all this. I'd like to remind everybody that the recordings of the event sessions will be available on the WOVA platform for a few days and will remain there for 90 days for you to revisit and review. And we're going to prepare a report on this event today too as well, because there's just so much good information that has come out of this, but the alignment is the most critical factor. So again, thank you all of you for attending today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we appreciate your support. And if you have any thoughts, reach out to me or anybody on our team. Amina Dib was on today, Andrew Pariser, and so on at any time. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.